I'm the director for Common Knowledge Trust, and we have within our trust Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation online course. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the change in childbirth trends in my lifetime. Often when we're living our lives, we think the way things are now is how they've always been. And in my lifetime, the trends in childbirth have changed significantly. Actually, between when I had my first child in 1970 in the United States, when I had my second child in 1982 in the United States. But I now live in New Zealand, where our trust common knowledge is. So let me fill you in a little bit so you know the advantages that you have now, but also one of the primary disadvantages. So in 1970, when I gave birth to my first child, women didn't have any choices. In fact, there were no midwives in the United States. Everybody went to the hospital. We had an obstetrician. Our husbands were just being permitted to come in and help us in labor, but not during a cesarean. We were all shaved, had an enema, had to stay in bed. We couldn't drink, we couldn't eat, we couldn't move around. We were strapped to the delivery table. We were given an episiotomy. We had our feet up in stirrups. Our babies were whisked away to the nursery where they were bottle fed. There was no early discharge, no rooming in, and that's what we all accepted as birth. But there was an interesting thing happening in the United States, which may have been unique around the world, although when I came to New Zealand, I've discovered that it wasn't so unique. At least New Zealand had something similar. In 1970, from the 1960s onward until the late 1970s in the United States, there was a high societal expectation that everybody become skilled. In every hospital, in every small town and city in the United States, in every state, Lamaze was taught. So everybody went in and did breathing and relaxation exercises. For those people who could afford to or had a slightly different viewpoint, they used the Bradley method. So during a period of time in the United States where women had no choices, they all went into the hospital having some level of skills with their husbands who helped them. And this changed childbirth in the United States. When I had my last child in 1982, there were lots of choices. In fact, I birthed my child myself in the hospital, even though he was very premature. And I had a number of people who came in with me. I wasn't shaved, I wasn't given an enema, I could get around and move. I squatted on the delivery table. I had rooming in. I actually was able to take him out of the hospital the next day, even though he was premature. So things had changed, but there were no skills. I was skilled because from the early 70s onward, families and I developed what is now known as Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation. So we learned how to prepare our bodies for birth, and we learned the birth and birth coaching skills to be very effective in any birth. So there was this huge change from a skills-based approach to childbirth to a choice-based approach where everybody made a birth plan. They said exactly what they wanted to have and didn't have. And I always wondered, even that early on, why skills and choices didn't go together. And I actually didn't get the answer to that until many years after I'd moved to New Zealand. In fact, not until 2015 did I really understand why. So in 2015, I gave a talk about the conundrums in childbirth and the confusions, the misunderstandings. But I read a book called The Trouble with Women, which is the history of the childbirth preparation group in New Zealand called Parent Center. Well, it turns out that from the 50s to the 70s, the Parent Center, the childbirth preparation organization here, taught Grantley Dick Reed's methods. They were similar to Lamaze. It was about breathing and relaxation. So people who wanted a natural birth and a pain-free labor took those classes. So I finally understood what had happened. So what had happened in New Zealand also happened in the U.S. And that was Lamaze, Bradley, and Grantley Dick Reed, just like hypnobirthing, babies, and active birth, all focused on achieving a natural birth, a non-medical birth, and preferably a painless labor. But not enough women achieved those things. And so birth advocates felt that skills failed. Now let's imagine that those three wonderful male obstetricians who were seeing birth becoming more medicalized had said, childbirth's an activity every woman has to do. So every woman should be skilled. Every woman, whether she has a natural birth, a home birth, a hospital birth, lots of medical interventions, a cesarean, anything. That birth is an activity and every woman should be dignified in that activity and have skills. The fact is that skills and choice would have gone hand in hand. But the reality was, through no fault, no intention, but the message was that skills could achieve a natural birth or a pain-free birth, and therefore women who were having medicalized births were left out, and women who didn't achieve natural births felt as though they had failed. Birthing better skills were developed by families in the 1970s, and we spent 15 years developing these skills for every birth. So it's important that you understand that you should make a birth plan. That's great, but you should also make a skills-based birth plan, because choices, you may not have them, or you may want them and they may change, or you may make a list of 20 things and get 19 and be pissed off that you didn't get that last one. But skills are what you do. You birth your baby, and we want you all to become skilled. So I'll talk to you more over the next coming weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.